Before we go ahead and perform the demo for managed identity, this is my blog. Just wanted to share. It's been returned on a couple of months back, but I have included some very important things. Let's go through the blog, then we'll continue our demo. Well, it says managed identities provide secure method for authenticating Azure resources against other Azure services without needing to include any credentials. We have already saw this in the previous video. Managed identities can be used to authenticate to any service that supports Azure AD authentication. We covered that part as well. Now, let's see some important facts. You don't need to store credentials in the application code because once you attach your managed identity, that will take care of the authentication part. And this is fully managed by Microsoft, so no need to rotate the credentials. Okay. Automates the creation registration of an application within Azure AD, Service Principal, Client ID. That is all happening at the back end by Azure or the Microsoft. So that's not the burden on your admins. Now, built-in functionality of Azure resource to securely obtain an authentication token. So this is something by which it is actually happening. Does not imply any authorization as identity must still be granted permission. See, these 2 points says once you have the managed identities, it can knock the door of API or REST endpoint APIs and get the access token verified and get the permissions. So managed identities has three main components: principal ID, client ID, that would be your role, that would be your generated object ID of the service principal, and this is very important: Azure Instance Metadata Service, REST endpoint accessible to VMs through this IP. Okay, so what happens, your code that's running on the VM can request a token from the Azure Instant Metadata Service endpoint accessible only from within the VM. Okay, within the Azure VM, it'd be like http://169.254.169.254/metadata/identity/OAuth2/token. Okay, and we got two kind of identities. We have already checked it. Now let's go ahead and try to perform the task. All right, cool. So what we are going to perform here is we're going to create a user assigned managed identity, assign your user assigned identity to your Windows VM. We'll grant the user identity access and get an access token using the user assigned identity and use it to call Azure Resource Manager. This is happening from the backend. So let me rephrase myself. It will help you to understand better. We will create a managed identity. Here you can see managed identity. We only need the information of resource name, resource group, and the location. Once this managed identity is created, we are going to give this identity role, the permission, the access. Okay, and then we'll assign it to the Azure VM. ARG VM is our VM. We assign this identity to Azure VM. Now, once this VM has the identity, it can get an access token from the ARM, from the API of ARM. Okay, and that we can see in our demo, and you would be able to understand it much better. Okay, so let's do it. This is our Azure VM, and under what is the name, settings, I think settings, we have this identity. We click here and you can assign system assigned identity or user assigned identity, both. Now for system assigned, you can click on and save. It would be taken care from the back end. Let's do the demo of user assigned. I click user assigned, you can add the user assigned identity, but I don't have any, so there is nothing coming out here. This is not something I've created, so leave it. So let's go ahead and create a managed identity first. So I typed here managed identity, and this is the managed identity. Okay, and all right, I just clicked the wrong tab, I think. Managed identity. Now we need to click here, create managed identity, and select the name. What's the name? Let me give it anything like identity mng. You gotta select the resource group and the location. So we have the resource group and location. You gotta click create. It would validate and create the identity. Once the identity is created, we'll provide this identity rights or the role. Well, it depends if you need or your application need what kind of role. For our demo, we can use anything, and we'll get rid of everything once the demo is completed. All right, it took a couple of minutes. Now we have our identity as identity mng as a managed identity. Now we need to give it a role. So I'm on the resource group where the VM belongs to. I am at IAM. Add the role assignment. It says add role assignment, and here I selected user assigned managed identity, and there is our identity. We click this one and we need to select a role. Let's select this one. We'll delete it just for a few minutes because contributes is a big role. So it is saving this right now. It has saved now, and I already am logged into this VM. This is the VM. Let me show you a few things in this. There it is. So this is our blog I was talking about. Here is the few tasks that I have written here uh, with the help of MS documentation. So we need to get this 169.254 metadata to get the access token so that we can access the Azure resources. Okay, so this is what it is. Invoke web request, and this is the I have showed you Azure instance metadata service. It can access the Azure API, and it will help you to fetch the token. Once you have the token, you can use this web request to access the ARM resources, and you will get response like this. Okay, and you need to change your subscription ID here and the resource group before you get the output that you're looking for, the information in this resource group. Okay, so let's try do that. Now let's go ahead and assign this identity to our VM. Let's go to user identity, add user identity, and this is our identity. Assign it. Once this identity is assigned, as I was talking about my blog, this is the web request you gotta do with this URL. The only thing you gotta do, you need to change the client ID. Okay. All right. I will share the MS documentation from where I'm referring this, and that would help you as well for detailed study. So let's see if it is done. Cool. Okay, so I'm back, and this is what I'm trying to copy in my VM where I have assigned the managed identity, the entire information, and we'll have this token with us. Then we can run the other command with the subscription ID or the resource group that you're looking for. But till access token will be good. So let's run this. Okay, it's the invoke the web request. It's just trying to fetch the uh, token, access token. And now let's convert from JSON, because if you do this, I don't think, see, so what you gotta do, we need to make this something that we can see. Now the content is like this. Now we only need the access token. Okay, now you can see this is the access token we have. You see, it look like assert or the private key, right? So how does this happen? Because we have the managed identity attached to this VM, so it can talk to the ARM API and get the access token, that you can utilize this token to access other resources from your Azure environment. For that, you need to run this particular line. Now, don't worry if you are coming from administrator background, this is something that developers do, but you should understand how the managed identity works. Okay. So if you run this header with the help of your subscription ID resource group, it will give the information as shown here. Dev test name, dev test location, West US, those kind of things. So you could access the Azure resources without typing any credentials. So you can use the managed identity for your cloud applications. You can use the managed identity to access the Azure Key Vault and keep your secrets credentials there. Okay, well, that's all about it. And the same thing goes with the system. The only thing is system is stuck to the system. You cannot reuse it. The life cycle belongs to the system. The rest, the function is the same. Okay, well, thank you for watching. Let me clean my resources. You have a good day. Bye-bye.